Good morning, good afternoon to everyone, and welcome to our cloud coaching session. Today, we are going to talk about the power of Oracle Apex, and you will have the possibility to see it in a cool demo. I am Violeta. I have here Piotr, who will be your presenter for this session. There is also Sonia and Rana from the Cloud Specialist team who are here to help you in case you have any questions during the session. And keep in mind that there is going to be also a dedicated Q&A part at the end of this webinar. Uh, as I said, so speaking about who we are, as I said before, I am Violeta. I'm a digital adoption manager for live events in Oracle EMEA. I am based in Bucharest. Today I'm joined by Piotr, who will be your presenter. And that was all on my side. I would like to pass over to Piotr now. Piotr, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Violeta.
You're welcome.
Allow me to reshare my screen now.
You can see your screen.
Perfect. So once again, thank you for your time today. My name is Piotr Kurzynoga. I'm a cloud data development specialist here at Oracle, and I'm joined by my team members, Sonia and Rana. Thank you for your help in today's session. So today we'll be talking about how we can change and transform our business by taking it to new heights, as this session says, by leveraging Apex and the integration possibilities within it. So without further ado, let's get into it and talk about how low-code is shaking up the market currently, and how low-code is enabling us and our enterprises to be more agile and to be more business-centric and customer-focused at the same time, depending on our needs, of course. So if we look at the right-hand side, we can see all the possible target audiences of Apex, and those could be not only developers, as we usually know, that would actually be working and developing applications, but this extends to data scientists, this extends to different business LOBs and their end users, as well as to all the different departments where a need for a specific application or for a specific task, because that's what usually we apply low-code to. We apply low-code to creating quick and agile applications with a low amount of effort, so that we can actually get something that works. So looking at that spectrum, looking at all of those different users that actually can leverage the local platform, we can then see how those 5 pillars come into play with a low level of skills required. So the learning curve is very low, and we can very easily onboard the platform and start creating from day one. So that then immediately pushes us to the time to market, right? Since the learning curve is small, we can then develop much quicker. Less code is required. There is inbuilt components that we can reuse, and we can also base on pre-built applications that already exist within the market as well. So that then directly ties into the resources, right? As already mentioned, since we have a larger group of people who are actually able to innovate, think outside the box, create new applications and ideas, we can then leverage those resources and hence reduce the general costs, since all of those tasks that perhaps were manual before can now be automated, or at least made more efficient, thanks to the innovation and the agility of a local platform. So now moving on, what is the secret behind it all? And there is no secret. So Apex is as a lot of you may already know, a no-cost feature of the Oracle database. So there is absolutely no cost when it comes to using Apex. Of course, if you're already running one of the Oracle databases, but that does not exclude you if you're running Express Edition. But of course, if you're running the Exadata, that works as well, right? So the scale here is immense, and there is no limit as to the scale when it comes to Apex and its uses within the enterprise. So now we will look at a few different deployment options, but you could also look at them as development options as to how we actually create our landscape and how we work across it. In the later topics that we will be talking about today, which is DevOps and security, essentially we can then see how those approaches, those hybrid approaches can come into play. So starting off, we can of course install Apex even on our local machine and just start using it right there. Or of course we could leverage the Apex service and just create our workspace directly in the browser and start playing with it there. But of course we have our on-premise suite as well, so that if you're running your database on premise, you can very easily combine that deployment together with the cloud deployment then, where you can, for example, have your production environment that's highly available, that's perhaps spread across multiple availability domains or regions, perhaps even. So then your on-premise environment could be the development or the, let's say, user acceptance testing one. So it all depends on how you want to shape and form your environment, but all of these possibilities are out there, and you can use them. So now we'll move on to the concept. Since we understand how the let's say the environment, the landscape might look, let's talk about how we can actually plan our applications, how we can separate them from each other. So this is where the security aspect is a big player, and this is where we look at having a single database that holds multiple schemas or multiple workspaces which are completely separate from each other. And this allows us to then develop applications within those workspaces so that we can separate the HR department from the support, from the sales, and so on, so that everyone can have their own place where the data is separate and there is no data leakage whatsoever between the workspaces. So that is a very important takeaway when it comes to Apex and how the architecture of the workspaces looks like, because given the fact that we have a single database, we're actually able to create hundreds of applications that span across multiple workspaces. And that is precisely what we're doing internally as well within our internal Apex Oracle instances, where we have over 5,000 workspaces, which are pretty much covering all the lines of business or LOBs in Oracle. And that is truly a truly scalable setup. So there is really no limitation, whether you're starting from a very small application and it's just almost a small calendar where you're starting to create events, until building huge integrated systems that combine multiple applications. So now let's have a look at how we actually came here, and at the brief history of Apex. So Apex is, of course, a product that is already established on the market with 20 years presence. Around, let's say 2013, 10 years ago, there was a big change right? When it comes to the interface, how we actually create and work with Apex, and that's where you can actually still find some of our customers using. So uh, that is something that happened 10 years ago, and now bringing us 10 years into the future, we're looking at API integration. We are looking at an Apex instance that's sitting directly within the autonomous database, as an example, that can be a click to deploy. So all of those changes and the rich history over the years has really brought us where Apex is currently. And this is what Apex used to look like in the past. This is, of course, what it looks like currently, looking at the current interface. And of course, as we go into the future, this is continuously changing and continuously being improved to stay current, basically, because that is a very important aspect, especially when it comes to development. We need to stay current, and we need to keep on developing and looking for ways to make development even more agile and quicker in our everyday lives. So that's where Apex is, of course, heading. And in the last release, so the latest release that is available, we were looking at improvements to developing responsive web applications that support offline functionality. We're looking at better and improved ways to visualize and manage data through invoking APIs. We also have a data generator now, so that allows you to basically generate sample sets of data that can be used in your applications for testing and so on, and a lot more different features that are basically that keep on being enhanced and that keep on being improved. And now, as we're at the end of March already, we're looking at Apex 23.1 coming soon. So while we have, it's not officially released, we know what we're learning in terms of what's coming. So we know we're looking at machine learning being actually available within Apex, so that you'll actually be able to invoke machine learning directly within Apex, and that supports some multiple algorithms that you can use on your data to further analyze it, or perhaps include some predictions. So now the key and important thing is the integration with developer lifecycle services, right? So DevOps essentially is what we're talking about. So very soon, and we're already starting to see the beginnings of that, we're getting a much improved and a much better way to automate and control our CICD processes within Apex. So that's something that has been that is being worked on over the years, right? And we're slowly getting there. So hopefully, in some time, we will actually have almost a one-click DevOps service, right? That will make everything even easier when it comes to development. So another important aspect that is improving is the PDF export capabilities. So we do have a more enhanced interface when it comes to the ORDS API. And as we know, ORDS is always a key player between all of this, since that is the engine and the middleware here between the database itself and the application, or the endpoint and users themselves. So it's always important to remember about the capabilities of ORDS and what it offers, especially in terms of also data manipulation and data insertion. So speaking of data manipulation, we also have extended or improved support for MySQL. As you know, MySQL is supported on Apex, so we're getting some improvements in that area as well. Baby steps, but we're definitely headed in the direction where it's being more user-friendly and more usable. So now, having spoke about the features that are coming soon, let's have a short look at the ecosystem of the autonomous database. So we have a lot going on here, and starting with the database itself, right, which offers us multiple ways of ingesting data, be it JSON, be it text, be it XML files. All of it is possible here. So we can then do a lot of different operations. We can leverage the Spatial Studio, for example, to work with our spatial data, with our coordinates, with our geometry, to analyze it further. We can, of course, use the Graph Studio as well, and the machine learning services that are within the autonomous database themselves to further predict and have a better insight into your data. So that is something that Apex combines. So Apex combines those things by simply being the dashboard or the place where you can integrate all of those services. So you can display the map from Spatial Studio within Apex and then enhance it further with data. And that is something that, as an example, we'll look at in the demo later on. But of course, there is a lot more. There is a lot more that you can do as the ecosystem is big, right? And we do not. There is no limitations. We cannot limit ourselves, especially when we're looking to innovate. So, from data science uses to digital assistants to integrating with multiple other services, or even extending existing SaaS applications, or perhaps just file management with object storage. The applications are endless, but the whole idea is to keep thinking outside the box and finding the pain points of the business, right? And whether there is wherever there is an issue, right? Apex can usually find a way to address that one. So, as promised, we will talk a little bit about DevOps today. So I just want to quickly talk about two approaches that we can look at when it comes to exporting the data, when it comes to interfacing with Apex and DevOps. So the first thing, or the first player that is probably known or perhaps not, is Liquibase, and Liquibase can be used to extract schema changes. Of course, it helps us with versioning of our objects, and that applies to Apex as well. So how that works is basically we're able to create a console editor, right, within our OCI tenancy. And then we can just take an export of the application and upload that. In this case, it's being uploaded to the OCI DevOps code repository, so that we can perhaps do some more processing. We can then upload it, push it, and deploy it in a different instance, depending what our needs are. And of course, then it sits within that repository, and we can proceed to building a whole let's say structure around it. So when it comes to Apex at DevOps, there are a bunch of rules, let's say, or best practices that are laid out but it all each time it all depends on the specific needs. So perhaps the best approach is always to start with the beginning and look at what exactly do you need from the DevOps. Do you just need to start the application for versioning? Do you actually need to have continuous integration and deploying into a three-tier environment? So all of those things can be considered, and then that can be enhanced with Terraform for some automatic deployment and creation of instances as well. So there is quite a lot of room when it comes to this setup, but that is what we're seeing here is just the gist to get an idea of what our possibilities are. So the second option is, I would say, native, right, in terms of the DBMS cloud package that we're leveraging. And this approach allows us to quickly upload database objects as well as, of course, Apex applications directly from the PLSQL command window. So what happens here is we simply are able to export any object type. That can be a table, all the types that are basically supported by that particular package, and then we can name that object and simply export that into our GitHub repository. And as you can see, in this case, I've just uploaded some random DDL into the repository for the demo purpose, right? So that is another way of interfacing with Git, and the possibility of uploading and keeping track of your deployments. So now, just very briefly, we'll have a look and we'll just talk about some use cases that exists actually, and that can be perhaps interesting to you guys. So automation, as already mentioned, is a big one with Apex. And in this particular example, we have a few components when it comes to the whole setup. So of course, at the core of everything, the front end itself being Apex, which gives us the options to, for example, scan QR codes, right? So we can directly recognize objects, upload images, and so on, to then storing those images in object storage, and of course having some additional processing in terms of the Oracle data science, which processes those images and adds some additional data on top of it that is later then also displayed within the Apex application. And all of that data is, of course, stored in the autonomous database. So that is just a quick example of how a few components can come together to create an interesting use case where automation is a key player, and that way we can enhance it very quickly and very easily by adding additional data sets. And those data sets can also come from REST sources, right? So that is something to always keep an eye out for. So now let's have a quick look at a video of a customer that we're also working with and that we're building some interesting use cases on.
Smart Forest is a center for research-based innovation. It was basically created to take the opportunities that are in technology in order to support the sustainable management of forest.
We rely on the Oracle Cloud to receive the data from the sensors, to apply the AI that we've developed to transform the data into information, and then to make it easily accessible on their desktop for the end users. this is not a 1 year game, this is 100 years or 200 years. So it's extremely important that we make good decisions today for future generations.
So on that note, you can see how the AI is processing, how the machine learning is processing the images in this particular project as well. All of that happens in pretty much real time, and we can then upload some of those images, some of those drone images to Apex, and that's where the whole let's say management of it happens, right? So once again, Apex is the platform here that enables us to upload those images, then execute the data science job, which can run in the background, report the results, and take the next steps, whichever are required, right? So in a sense, Apex is really the glue here, and I think that's a very strong message that comes across, is we're truly able to build out many different systems and many different applications in a variety of sectors. And there, at least in my experience, I haven't come across many use cases that were not applicable. So that really shows. But anyway, now let's jump into the demo part, and let's see it from the browser side. So let me stop sharing. And in the meanwhile, while I'm sharing, I can see that there is a question on the DBMS cloud repo export object. So there is documentation available. There is no major setup required there. So that's something that we can address in the Q&A, or I can actually show even later. So now. There we go. And you should be seeing my browser now.
Yeah, you can see it.
Perfect, thank you. So we're now in the OCI console. So let me just quickly navigate to my autonomous database. So I can just do it through the pin I have just clicked, or I can just simply go to the Oracle databases, go to the autonomous databases, and here within my compartments, I have my autonomous database that's running. So that's my Apex demo instance. So what I actually want to do now is scroll down and go to my Apex instance, and from here we'll take it to Apex. So we're gonna launch from here, and now let me just log in real quickly. Under instance. So here I am logged in to my environment. So for starters, let me have a look at my sample data science application. So let's close this. Let me run it. And as we have looked in the videos, in the presentation, we spoke about data science quite a lot. So why not have a look at it in practice and see how it delivers? So I'm going to go ahead and upload a picture of this sheep, and let's see what happens. So we can see that what happened here was basically, first we chose a file. That file was then uploaded to an object storage bucket, and then we execute the data science model, and then we can see the preview of the image in here. So let's try another one. So this is this will be cows. So let me do that one. Oh, missed the upload. Let me do that again. So now we can see that the algorithm, the AI vision that's actually running in the back behind all of this has identified our 5 cows. I think it missed one, but that's still pretty good, I'd say. So that's kind of one way that you can use Apex here. Some of the other things, right, that you can do is, of course, what we have previously spoken about in terms of the spatial. So let's just have a quick look at this particular application where we're actually able to upload Excel files, Excel documents that have a particular column formatting, and when those files are uploaded, we then immediately insert them into the database, and on top of that, we actually extract the coordinates from the locations and perform geocoding on them, so that we can then do something pretty cool, which is being able to transform that data directly into a visual map, right? So that's the enhancement I was talking about. So from Excel to Apex, no steps in between, right? And then after uploading that, we're immediately able to filter the data and interface with the map in this case, since there is coordinates in here, and we can see for the sake of order tracking perhaps, or any other tasks, we can see all the different data, and we can even click into the particular lines, into the particular orders, and modify them in place. And all of that starts with an Excel sheet in this case, right? So as we know, that's not ideal and that's not perfect for everybody, but we are working with different vendors, with different third parties, and everyone has different requirements, and sometimes those have to be matched. So that's another way that we can combine all of those worlds, and we can still work modern, we can still innovate, but while reusing some of the, let's say, older components or some of the alternative data sources. Now, let me jump back to our autonomous database itself. And since there was some interest in terms of the DBMS cloud package itself, so let me just jump to the database actions and go to our SQL. So we have just looked at our data science application, and actually I just noticed that I need to sign out from here as first before I log in with my actual user. So anyway, we have looked at the data science application first, and now we're going to look at how we can actually export it from our database by leveraging the PL/SQL Devops, so the DBMS cloud repo that we have briefly spoken about. So I do have a piece of code that's actually prepared here. So you can see that I have a few different parameters declared here. Then for the DBMS cloud repo, the first thing we do is we initialize the repository. We previously, prior to that, I had created a credential. So that's a credential that you simply create by passing the personal authentication token that you can create on GitHub or whatever repository you use. And then once that is set up, we can simply use this command to export our application. In this case, the application is has the ID of 129. So we then convert that data to this type that is supported by the put file. So in this case, that's a blob. One thing to note here, this package is being enhanced. So we will be seeing the support, the native support without the need for conversion at some point in the future. So then we do execute the put file using the DBMS Cloud repo package, and we define our repository. We define the path of our file, or how we want to name it. There is, of course, additional parameters we can also define. And then lastly, we can actually pass the contents. So as this is actual PLSQL code, you can only imagine how you could plug that into your Apex application, which of course supports executing PLSQL code, and how you could make this process more automatic and seamless. Anyway, I will just now execute this package. So this is the repository. It doesn't have the Apex folder in it at the moment. So now let's go back. Let me execute this piece of code. It's executing, and it has executed. So now I should be able to refresh this repository, and I can see the Apex folder has now appeared. Going to init, I can see the DS129 is here. So that's our data science application. I can click into it, right? And that will, once it opens, and that will be our application, right? So we have the first version of our application. We can, as an example, continue to create new components, update our application, and then keep on exporting the versions, and then perhaps deploy them in other instances. Of course, there's multiple other components that can be added to it, but that's a topic that we'll leave for the future. We're, let's say, focusing on the foundations today. So with that, please, if you have any more questions, I'll take them now, but that'll be the wrap of our demo and of our presentation for today. But please, especially after noting that roughly 50% actually ingests data through the REST API, and then 50% of the data is ingested through the database. I'm wondering, would those usually be hybrid setups, or is that usually a split between that would be just a database source, or that would be just a REST source? Let me know in the comments. I'm curious. And once again, if you have any questions, then please go ahead and ask away.
And with that, I would like to thank you all for being here with us, for attending this call. Thank you, Piotr, Rana, Sonia, Tom, for being here. And of course, we hope to see you soon in the cloud coaching sessions, and of course in other programs that we currently run. Thank you, and have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye now.
Bye.